Welcome to educator.com. This lesson is about dimensional analysis. In this lesson, you will learn about dimensional analysis, which is also known as converting units. Applications are to compare measurements. A conversion factor is a rate that equals to 1. For example, 12 inches equals 1 foot. Dimensional analysis is a method of determining the proper units of measure for a quantity. Here are some important conversion factors to remember for length. 12 inches equals 1 foot, 36 inches equals 1 yard, 3 feet equals 1 yard, and 5,280 feet equals 1 meter. Here are some important conversion factors for weight. 16 ounces equals 1 pound, 2,000 pounds equals 1 ton. And here are some conversion factors for capacity. 8 fluid ounces equals 1 cup, 2 cups equals 1 pint, 4 cups equals 1 quart, 2 pints equals 1 quart, and 4 quarts equal 1 gallon. Let's try converting some units. Convert 1.3 miles into feet. We're going to use the conversion factor of 5,280 feet in 1 mile. The way you set this up is as a ratio, 1.3 miles, and this is going to be over 1. And we're going to put diagonal to the miles, miles. Because notice that when we multiply across, we're going to end up with miles over miles, which simplifies to 1. And so they will cancel. And if I put 5,280 feet on top, when the miles and miles cancel, I'm going to be left with feet, which is what I'm looking for here. So across the top, I'm going to do 1.3 times 5,280. Let's do that over here. 3 times 0, 0, 24. Carry the 2, 6, 7, 8, and 15. Hold the place, 8, 2, and 5. 0, 12. Hold the place, and then 1 times 0. We need to move this over 1 space. It's going to be 0, 0, 8, 2, and 5. Holding the place, and then 1 times 0, 85. Okay, 0, 4, 16, 8, and 6, and then with 1 place. So 1.3 times 5,280 is 6,864. And the miles have canceled, so we're left with just feet. So if you think about it, 1.3 miles is more than 1 mile, so our answer should be more than 5,280 feet, and it is 6,864 feet. Now let's try converting 2.5 pounds to ounces. Once again, I'm going to put the 2.5 pounds over a 1, and I'm going to put diagonal to the pounds 1 pound, because the pound and the pound will cancel, leaving me with the ounces. So later the pound and pound will cancel, and I'll be left with ounces. So on top I have 2.5 or 2.5 times 16. It's going to be 30, 12, 15. Hold the place, 5 and 2. 0, 10, 3, and 4 with 1 decimal place. So 40 ounces. Let's try converting 3.8 cups to fluid ounces. So I have 3.8 cups on top over 1, and I'm going to put cups diagonal so that they will cancel. 1 cup on the bottom and 8 fluid ounces. So the cup and the cup will cancel, leaving me with fluid ounces. And that's going to be 3.8 times 8. 64, 24, and 30 with 1 decimal place. So 30.4 fluid ounces. Find the unit rate for traveling 2,200 miles in 17.2 minutes. So we've looked at unit rates before. Let's look at 2,200 miles over 17.2 minutes. And if you remember, unit rate means finding for 1. So we're going to find for 1 minute how fast this vehicle is traveling. So to go from 17.2 to 1, you would divide by 17.2. So 17.2 divided by 17.2 will give you the 1. So then we need to create an equivalent ratio. And on top, we're also going to divide by 17.2. So you're going to take 2,200 and divide by 17.2. Remember that you can't divide with a decimal on the outside, so we're going to move the decimal over once, meaning we add another 0 here, moving the decimal over once. So 172 into 220 goes in once. 10 minus 2 is 8. We've borrowed. 11 minus 7 is 4, and we've borrowed. So that's gone. We bring down the 0. I'll say that goes in about, well, 3 times 17, 2 times 17 would be, 3 times 70 would be 21, and then 51. So that's going to be too high, so we're just going to go times 2. So 172 times 2, 4, and then 14, 2 makes 3. So 344. 10 minus 4 is 6. Borrowed. 7 minus 4 is 3 and 1. And then bring down the 0. And I'll guess about, I would say about 2 into, maybe we could try about 7. 172 times 7 gives us 14, 49, 50, 7, and 12. 1204, that's too small, so let's try 8 times 8, 16, 56, 57, 8, and 13. And that would be too high, so we'll put it in 7. 1204. Subtract and put a decimal place and continue. 10 minus 4 is 6. 5 minus 0 is 5, and we borrowed. And now bring down the 0. And we'll say about, we could try times 3, and that's 6. 21, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 16, and that's close. So 3. And I think at this point we could stop. 127.3 miles. And you might want to check your work since it's long division with a calculator if you are allowed to use a calculator. Sometimes when converting units into unit rate in their long numbers, your teacher may allow you to use one to check your work. And definitely check how many decimal places the problem is asking for, whether your textbook or your teacher. In this case, I left it at the 10th place. Using dimensional analysis in a word problem. You are planning a community service project that will take 60 work hours. This project must be completed in 10 hours. How many people do you need? So we're going to do 60 work hours, and we want it to be completed in 10 hours. So we're dividing by x here. So basically 60 over x equals 10. So to solve, you're going to first perform the opposite operation to get x up to the top. So the opposite of dividing by x, remember that this line means divide, is to multiply by x. So x over x will cancel out to 1, leaving you just 60, and then 10x. And next, you're going to continue with the inverse operation and divide by 10 both sides to isolate the x, and x will equal 6. So how many people do you need? You need 6 people. They will be working at 10 hours apiece, and 6 times 10 will give you the 60 work hours. Convert 7,500 pounds to tons. So we're going to put 7,500 pounds over 1, and we're going to put pounds diagonal in our conversion factor. So it's going to be 2,000 pounds over 1 ton, under 1 ton. Notice that I did not use the conversion factor as it was given. I put pounds on the bottom because the pounds and the pounds will cancel each other out, leaving me with tons, which is what we want. So on top, I have 7,500 times 1, and on the bottom I have 1 times 2,000. And I can simplify, and it'll be 75 over 20. tons, which you could divide by 5 and get 15 over 4. And then to change that into a mixed number, it will go in 3 times with the remainder of 3. So it'll be 3 whole tons and 3/4. 3 3/4 tons. Find the unit rate in the given units. So we're starting with $290 in 16 hours. And they want it to end up in dollars over minutes. So let's look at what we're changing here. We're not going to be changing the dollars. The dollars will be staying the same, but what we will be converting is the hours into minutes. So let's take $290 over 16 hours. And remember that the unit that you want to change is always going to be set diagonal. So it's going to be hours on top. And what we want to change it into is minutes on the bottom. So minutes is going to be on the bottom. And then later, when we multiply, we're going to be able to cancel out the hours and the hours. And the conversion factor that would be a good one for you to have memorized, or you probably already do, in 1 hour there is 60 minutes. So now you're going to have the hours and the hours canceling, leaving you with dollars over minutes, which is what they're asking us for, our goal. So we have 290 over 16 times 60. 0, 0, 0, hold in place, 36, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. 960 dollars over minutes. We can simplify this by knocking off the zeros, and it's going to be $29 in 96 minutes. In 96 minutes. Research for a group project will take 24 hours. If there are 4 people in the group, how many hours will the project take? So there's 24 hours, and there are 4 people. And we want to find out how many hours the project will take. Well, the 4 people will be contributing to to the work hours. And what we want to think about here is the question. Research for a group project will take 24 hours. So this is the total 24 hours. And there are going to be 4 people in the group. So assuming that each person works at the same rate and the same amount of hours and is able to complete the same amount of hours, we can take the total hours and divide by the number of people. And they will each work for 6 hours. So simultaneously, person 1, person 2, person 3, person 4 will work 6 hours. And at the end of that 6-hour period, they will have reached their goal of 24 hours. So the project will take 6 hours if all the people are working at the same rate for the same amount of time. We're going to be changing 14.5 gallons per minute in 1 minute into pints per second. So notice that we are going to be needing 3 conversion factors, because not only are we changing minutes into seconds, but we're also going to be changing gallons into pints. So I'm going to start first with the gallons. So I'm going to have 14.5 gallons over 1 minute, and I'm going to change that into quarts. So the gallons goes on the bottom, the one that you want to cancel out, and we'll change it into quarts. So the gallons and gallons will cancel, and at this point we're going to have 14.5 times 4 is 20, 16, 17, 18, 4, and 5 with 1 plus. So 58 quarts in a minute. Now I'm going to take the 58 quarts and put diagonal to it quarts, because I'm going to use this conversion factor and change the quarts into pints. so 1 quart is 2 pints. And across the top, the quarts and quarts will cancel, and I'll be left with pints per minute. And 58 times 2 is 116 pints per minute. Now we're almost there to our goal. We've reached the pints on top. Next we need to find seconds. So I have 116 pints over 1 minute. And now I'm going to use my last conversion factor, the 1 minute equals 60 seconds. And I'm going to put diagonal to the minute, 1 minute, which I'm going to be canceling out, and 60 seconds. So the 1 minute and the 1 minute will cancel, and I'll have 116 pints over 60 seconds. You may leave it like this, or you may choose to simplify it, and by dividing by 2, you would have 58 pints over 30 seconds, which you could divide again and get 29 pints over 15 seconds. So sometimes you may need several conversion factors to reach the final, and you should always check that the units to see whether both are being converted or just one is being converted. Thank you for watching educator.com.